Okay, we're back again. Good afternoon. I am trying to do another IG Live because I have another guest that I would like to share with you all. But we are having some technical, so I'm trying to get him on. Let's see if we can get it. You can fast forward through this part and still until you see him on the screen, and then hopefully that will do it, and we'll be good. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for him to hop on, I've been doing interviews with people who have created either a product or a service or a ministry or a local group or something where they have created something. Let's see if I got it. He just came in. Hold on. Let's see. It says you're unable to join. Uh,
All right. Can you hear me?
yes.
All right. I got my focus mode on because the kids called. I'm sorry. Sorry. Daddy first always. So I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But we set now. We straight.
Okay.
Sorry, man. 6 kids means at any moment somebody can call. So
Look, that's
I
all right.
I got to do not disturb on, and they know. Give me a little minute.
Okay. That's all right. Okay. So I'm gonna do this intro one more time, y'all.
Third time's the charm,
Right? We got it. Okay. So my guest today is Larry Jr., and he is just a young Black single father of 6, aiming to be the best he can to his babies and to do the will of his Father in heaven. Larry created D.A.P.S with Dads to be a space for co-parents to give and get direction, advice, perspective, and support, while showing what faith-based parenting and present active fatherhood looks like. He is currently serving in an all-male, Christ-focused digital ministry, as well as a local house of prayer in his city. He is a fatherhood practitioner with a local nonprofit agency in his city as well. They aim to empower fathers because they know that will in turn empower the entire family. Larry just wants to serve God's kingdom, serve his children, and serve his community while pointing people to Jesus. Okay, great intro. And hello for those who are dropping in. Okay, are you there? Oh, oh no. Yes, oops, he dropped. Yes, I think he did. Okay, let's see. Can we get him back in?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here, and I heard the bio, and the bio was amazing. You read it perfectly. Thank you. You make me sound better than I am.
Oh my goodness. Look, I mean, you doing this stuff, so you doing something.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Okay, so tell us where you're from.
Absolutely. So I am in, I call it the Buckeye State. I'm in Ohio, in the capital, in Columbus, born and raised here. So I've been here my whole life. I've lived on every side of town, so I'm familiar with the city. I've lived in surrounding suburbs, and I also went to college here. So, born here, raised here, educated here. Now I'm raising my family here too.
Okay, nice. And the reason why I asked that question is because I like for my audience or anyone who's watching to know, like, it does not matter where you come from. Because sometimes people can say, well, people from my neighborhood or people from my city or even my entire state. Like,
Yeah.
when you think of my state, blah, blah, blah. And so I just like people to know, every guest that I have, they're from somewhere different and they all have something that they can share. So,
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think sometimes we allow our location or where we were born to become an identifying factor, and it really don't have to be. You know, you're that is just a part of you. It's not who you are.
yes. Okay, so tell us, how long have you been doing content creation for DAPS with Dads?
Yes, ma'am. So I actually, prior to starting the DAPS with Dads Instagram page, I actually was off of social media for about 5 years. You know, nothing at all. No Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter, nothing at all. And during that time, around the 4 year-ish mark, I had the Lord had told me DAPS, and I'm like, well, what is that? I thought it was supposed to be a book. And over the course of the next year, it just started kind of fleshing itself out as I was in prayer and things of that nature. And the acronym just kind of formed itself: direction, advice, perspective, support. You know, what's one thing that you always see people give each other, black, white, male, female, is that. You know, like we dap up, you know. You got people that have their own special handshakes, you know, fraternities, sororities. You see the athletes do it all the time. We always are giving each other dap, you know. So I took that DAP idea and mixed it with being a father, you know, being a co-parent, my experience. What's one way that I can, you know, spread some light out here in this space that is usually a dark space, co-parenting, give everybody some DAP. So it has been since September of 2021 that we have been on Instagram. Not really too consistent with it because I'm a dad first. You know, that's my number one ministry. Who cares about what happens with this platform and whatnot if me and my babies aren't right? You know, if my children are misbehaving, if my children aren't respectful. I don't want to be one of those people that has 100,000 followers, but you see us in public and my kids is wilding out. So we've been around for coming up on 2 years. You know, we've had some moments where, you know, the content creation has been jumping and it's been booming. More so in the summertime, you know, as a co-parent, you know, my kids don't live with me. So we have to kind of work around that a little bit too. But we're coming up on 2 years in this content creation space, and it's been pretty fun. It's been pretty fun.
That's awesome. I want to, this is not a question on here, guys, but I just want to ask him this. You said you got it a year before you actually started.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
So how do you not just, I got the idea, I'm going for it. Like,
Absolutely.
what was that in between phase? Did you want to start immediately, or like how was that?
Oh, that's a great question. So, you know, I'm a follower of Christ. Everything that I do is rooted in that, you know, and if anybody has been walking with the Lord for a little while, you know that he typically drops things in kind of portions, you know. He might not give you the full fleshed out idea. You got to take what he gives you, go into prayer, spend some devotion time, you know, really tune in with his voice and see what he's talking about. So when he first gave it to me, I thought it was supposed to be a book, you know, so I'm fleshing out this book and whatnot. And then I'm like, well, I don't know if this is really the way to go. So I had to go back into that secret place, you know. And that's when I was like, Lord, are you telling me to get back on social media? Because I was very content with being off of social media. You know, it's not really my favorite place to be, you know. So I spent some more time in the secret place, and I just heard reels. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to do that. That means I got to get back on social media. That means I can't just write a book and not put my face out there, you know. So I created the Instagram. At first, we just did a couple little pictures. And then my kids actually were very excited to do the reels. It was them that pushed me to really step into it. Cause I was like, I'm not sure. I don't want to be on camera. But when I shared the idea with my babies, they're like, yeah, Dad, like they like to dance. They're very energetic. So we started creating these reels, and you know, when you walk in what God told you to walk into, it usually will take off. And even though there was a full year of me having this idea, once we actually stepped into it, man, it didn't take long for the audience to start to come, for the for the a lot of people telling me, encouraging me, hey, I see what you're doing and I like what you're doing and I need what you're doing, you know. And that's when I was like, okay, Lord, this is where you called us to for right now.
Ah, that's so good. Okay, so recap for anyone who's listening to this and you think the Lord is giving you something. One, go pray about
That
it.
part.
Get wise counsel. If you need to, fast, write down some ideas. He
Yes,
said he was starting to flesh out his ideas. And then at some point, you got to start. You got to take a step. So that's good.
absolutely.
You answered this, but I'm just going to ask it in case you have anything else you want to add. Um, how are you changing the lives of your audience through your content?
That's so good. So my content is really twofold. You know, number one is I'm trying to point people to Jesus. I mean, you you can claim you're the best dad in the world, the best mom in the world, but I mean, in my opinion, and based off of my faith, you know, if you're not pointing your kids and you're not rooted in Christ, you ain't doing nothing. Like, I mean, you can have, again, you can have all the followers in the world and everybody love your platform, but are you fulfilling a purpose? You know, and our ultimate purpose is to share the good news, you know. So that's number one. And I have definitely had a lot of people reaching out like, man, like your reels are encouraging, which is number one. Like, I just want to be encouraging, you know. um I'm pointing them up because he encourages me, you know. Tapping in with the Father is a great way to get some joy, a great way to pick your mood up, you know. And then the second part, of course, is just being a dad. You know, I want men to see you can be a present father. Like, you can be active in your kids' lives. You know, it's not all about just protect and provide. It's a lot more to that, you know, to being a dad, and your children will appreciate it a lot more. You know, a lot of people ask me often, it just doesn't make sense. Your kids are so well behaved and your kids just, you know, they honor you and they respect you. I thought your kids lived with you every day. No, it's not about the amount of time. It's about the quality. You know, I spend quality time with my children. You know, I listen to them. I see what they're interested in and I immerse myself in what they're interested in. You know, I'm not trying to bring them into my world. I've been around. Like, I'm trying to come into their world and see what's going on in their minds. You know what I'm saying? And that has allowed us to have just this crazy, crazy bond that I'm so grateful for. Sorry, I get emotional when I talk about my babies, man. Like, I'm really grateful because if it wasn't for them, I know I wouldn't have the relationship that I have with God, or the level of relationship that I have with God. You know, seeing him as a father by being a father has really been a game changer, a game changer for me. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, that's good. So you said DAPS is twofold. One is to, hold on, you said a lot, so I'm thinking,
Point
is
them up.
to
Point
point
them
them
up.
up to Jesus. And then two, to let dads know you can do more than just provide, but you can also be present because
Absolutely.
that matters as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, I got it. I'm like, I just had to take a second because I was actually listening. So, okay. Um, if you have one, if not, that's okay. What is your ultimate goal or big picture for where you see this going?
Absolutely. So I just want to continue to grow and see as many people come to the Lord as possible. You know, if I don't ever make a dollar off of this thing, so, but if I can have one person tell me, hey, I decided that I want to give my life to Christ because of a reel, man, I'm successful. You know, if I get one dad that reaches out like, you know, I was struggling with X, Y, and Z, but I saw your reel and it made me call my kid. I'm successful. You know, even on a deeper level, if I can get a mom and a dad to want to be civil co-parents, you know, because we know it's not easy. You know, if you're not married to your partner, you know, co-parenting can be tough. So if I get one person that's like, you know, something you said changed my perspective on how I want to treat my kid's mom or how I want to treat my kid's dad, I'm successful. So my ultimate goal, really honestly, has already been met. I've had dads reach out to me. I've had people reach out to me and say they've been encouraged by one of the reels or a song. Even a song I might post in my story. I've had somebody say, yo, this song, now I bump this song on the regular, you know? So, I mean, whatever else the Lord wants to do, have your way. But in my opinion, I'm already successful in this thing.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, so two things. One, if the Lord gave you the idea, then he has the plan for it, or like what it's supposed to be.
Yep.
So if you submit to him and do what he tells you to do, you're already successful.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter the numbers, which absolutely may come. It doesn't matter about, all that stuff. So I think that's so good because people can easily forget who gave them the idea.
That's it.
And, so that's good.
You know, one of my favorite scriptures is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans for you, says the Lord. Like, he already knows the plan. It's already outlined in heaven. It's on us to tap in with him, pray, listen, and get that download of the blueprint. He already knows the plan, right? Plans to prosper you. Now, a lot of times we think prosper means I'm supposed to have the mansion and the cars. You know what I'm saying? But you have to also keep in mind a biblical definition of prosper. Somebody told me they came to the Lord because of something I posted. I'm prospering. Me and my co-parents are getting along today better than we did before I started the Instagram. Prospering. Dads are coming out to different events that I post. Like, hey, I saw you post that this event is happening in the city. I decided to bring my daughter out. That's prospering to me. So trusting his plans, for he knows them, we just have to trust that what's happening in our lives is a part of his plan.
Yeah, that's so good. Next question. Did your upbringing influence the type of content that you're making, or did you just see a need and decide to fill the gap?
Man, I would prefer if it was the second and I just saw the need and wanted to fulfill the gap. I actually was having a very interesting dialogue with a whole bunch of people in a comment section on a post that one of my friends, he posts co-parenting content, and it was a little baby that climbed on the stove and the baby fell and the mom just started cussing like, see, that's what you get. And I was like, and people were debating whether or not, children have to learn by experience. Right? Or as people, we have to learn through experience. And I'm not a proponent of that. Like, yes, experience is a great teacher, but if I can tell my children not to do something and they don't do it, I would prefer that. I would prefer them not to have to touch the iron, So I would prefer this would have been just a need filling thing. But, I grew up without my father in my life. He was in the city, but didn't want to be a present father. By the grace of God, my mom did get married, and my stepfather was in my life around 5 until now. They're still married, but he worked a lot. He was the provider and the protector, but he wasn't present, So when my children came, it was like, oh yeah, nah, like I got to do something different than what I had. And then when I noticed when I was off of social media that the conversations typically are around fathers not being around, but all my friends were present fathers. Like, wait, hold on, like, how is this the narrative when my circle, we out here doing the dad thing, so it's like, oh yeah, nah. Like, so outside of him just giving me the idea of DAPS, it was like, yeah, I gotta do this because I need to show the world that men are out here being present with their fathers, not just white men, not just black men, but men, especially men of God, So I prefer it had been the second, but yeah, my upbringing, my childhood plays a huge role in why I do what I do.
That's good. Okay, if you would like to answer this, you can. If not, we don't have to. But what was the moment, if there was a defining moment? It might have just been little things, but can you think of a moment or particular event that made you go, I have to do something different? Or was that just already in you? Like, you just knew, when I have kids, I'm doing something different?
A little bit of both. you know, I am human. I'm not perfect. I make sure everyone knows that. Just because I walk with the Lord doesn't make me better than anybody else. I'm one decision away from being in prison, being dead, being a lot of things. You know, it's only because of His grace that I am where I am right now. You know, so there wasn't necessarily a defining moment, because having my children each different time was a different experience. I have a different experience with most of my children's mothers. You know, I've been in relationships before. One of my children is from a one night stand. One of my children is from my fiance. We were almost married, you know, so all different situations. So it wasn't one defining moment, but my childhood plus what I was creating with my children before I really started walking with the Lord. It was like the Lord kind of was like, hey, bro, do you want to keep going this direction? Like it's not looking pretty, you know. You already see what's happening with your father. Do you want to be that? I'm giving you a chance. Here's a lifeline. You better take it. You know, I have been walking with the Lord for a long time. As far as, you know, I got saved, you know, when I was 19. We grew. My mom kept us in the church, but I was one of the most backslidden saved people you ever meet. You know, I would literally, I mean, wilding out. I would be in the church on Sunday, and by Monday, in some girl's bed. You know, I mean, it was bad. But after my children came, he was like, "Yo, like, do you want your?" I'll never forget very clearly. Do you want your sons to be like you, or do you want your daughters to date you? And I was like, "Oh, absolutely not." So I need to change. And the only way that we really can change is through Christ, by the power of the Holy Spirit. So I had to start taking this thing serious. And once I start taking it serious, man, it's been quite the journey. You know, every day with the Lord is sweeter and sweeter. Nobody's perfect. The righteous man falls 7 times, but we get back up, you know, and that next day is, I mean, joy comes in the morning. Not to throw all the cliches out, but they're real, you know. I wish we would stop calling them cliches, because they're facts. Like, this is, to a Bible believing person, it's not a cliche. It's real life. So yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, so one more I'm gonna go off on. You're saying so much good stuff. What does taking it serious mean? Because maybe somebody might be watching this and they hear you saying that, but
Absolutely.
they're like, can you give some practical tips on how can they begin to take their walk serious?
Absolutely. Obedience, obedience, obedience. I'm so grateful for my pastors. The leader of my local church is actually, we address him as apostle. He's a teacher, and he is teaching me the word of God like I've never been taught before. You know, I'm a student. I love to learn. And the way he preaches and teaches is blessing me, but he also is very big on obedience. You know, he stresses obedience, and I needed that. You know, I grew up in a church where it was just love the Lord, he'll forgive you. Well, yeah, he might forgive me, but there's a certain level of blessing, there's a certain level of access that only comes through obedience, you know. So if you want to see change, well, you got to be obedient, you know. Discipline, that's what it looks like. Discipline, right? It looks like self-control, one of the fruits of the spirit, right? We can't do this on our own. It's impossible. It's our we're nasty, right? Without the Holy Spirit, without Jesus and what he did on the cross. So it's going to take the spirit inside of you, right? Coupled with that, just being obedient to really make that change and take it serious.
Yeah. Uh, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name, but is it Miss? I don't
That's
know.
that's my brother Marcelo.
Okay. He said, say it.
Yes,
So, yes,
sir.
what you're saying is resonating.
Yes, sir.
And sorry for calling you Miss.
He attends my church, and he feel me, because, you know, if you are at our church, you're going to feel one of two ways. And I'll be honest, I've been around my church off and on for years, you know, but I was always scared because my leader is big on accountability and obedience, right? So I kept running. I would come for like 2 weeks. I'm like, no, nah. He talking. I feel like the word is right talking to me and piercing my heart. Well, yeah, it was, because I was out here being disobedient, telling me to be obedient. So I would disappear for months and try to go to some church where nobody's going to know me. They're not preaching obedience. They're preaching the prosperity gospel, all that type of stuff, right? But when I came back this time, when I decided that I have to be obedient, I have to make a change for my children, game changer, game changer, because he's one of the wisest men I've ever met in my life. Young man, under 40, I believe, you know, and he is teaching me more than these older pastors that I grew up under ever have. So yeah.
Okay. He said, is it easier to be obedient when you have better relationship with God? Say a little about this topic.
Ooh, absolutely. It's the same. Listen, thank you, sir. You know, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about my children honoring me and respecting, and how people are like, well, there's no way your kids don't live with you every day. Like, why are they so well behaved? Well, because when I'm with them, it's quality time. Ooh, Jesus. So when we spend quality time with the Father, when we spend quality time with the Father, you know, it's going to make that obedience a little bit easier. I want to do what my daddy says. It's different when you're like, I want to do what God says. No, I want to do what my daddy says. I want to do what Abba says, you know, my father. Well, I want to please my father, you know? So I think sometimes we have to really understand all the facets of God. He's not just this big scary God up in heaven, you know? He's our daddy. He's Daddy Yahweh. And he wants to comfort his children. He wants to protect his children. He wants to be there for his children. But just like, you know, we prefer to do better things when our kids is well behaved. My kids bring home A's. What you want? We going to the store. What you want? You know, you bring me home a C, I'm not going to disown you. You're not my kid anymore, but you're not getting the gifts. You know? So if we give a C-level obedience, what you expect?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. Thank you for asking that. Okay, so next question.
Wow.
Excuse me. Take us from you having the idea that God gave you to actually bringing it to life. What did that look like? Like, what were some of your first steps to actually bring it to life and get it out of your head?
Absolutely. So first it was, do I really want to be back on social media? You know, it is something that I still struggle with often. So my followers know there might be a period where I'm not posting for a minute. I might have to duck out because, like I was saying, my relationship with my God is number one. So yes, I can want to save everybody in the world, but am I good? Is my heart right? You know what I'm saying? So if I'm starting to see different things pop off, well, yeah, I got to take some time away, you know? So that was pretty difficult in the beginning, you know, to just initially start it. So that was a little bit of a process, trusting myself, trusting that just because I made a mess doesn't mean that my mess can't be used to bless somebody else. You know, I thought I was too jacked up. Like, ain't nobody gonna want to listen to you, bro. Like, ain't no dad's gonna want to hear what you saying. Like, you just a co-parent. Like, you're not a true single father that has his kid every single day. Nobody's gonna listen to you. So there was a lot of condemnation, a lot of guilt that I had to deal with. You know, that's why I was saying, like, it's important when you get these downloads from the Lord to pray and to really consecrate yourself and spend that time, because the enemy will try to knock it out. He will do it, especially if it's something from God. The enemy will try to have you talk yourself out of it, right? And even when we first started the Instagram, there was a couple times where I was posting content and it wasn't jumping. So I would delete it. Like, nah, I don't want to do this. Like, I would keep the Instagram, but I would wipe it clean.
Yeah.
No posts. Like, so it was definitely a journey. I think, you know, it's just trusting the process. You know, it's just like this walk with Christ is a sanctification journey, building a brand, doing this content creation. It's a journey. It's a process. You gotta value every single step of the way. If you don't, then you'll be stuck at the beginning, like, yeah, I'm just done with this and giving up. You know, I have a podcast that was out for a little bit. I had a few episodes out. A couple months back, I wiped those. You know, it got into one of those spaces where it's like, all right, like, is this where I really want to go? Is this what I really want to do? So it's a lot of up and downs, and that's okay. that's okay. I think we have to get out of this idea that it's just going to be, I'm going to start a page and it's going to go just take off. Nah, it's a up and down with this content creation thing. It's a up and down with this digital space and age that we live in right now. So, you know, just trust the process, whatever that may look like. Everybody's is different. You know, we see people out here that might go from 0 followers to 100,000 in a month. Well, yours might be a slow grind. You know, it might be some things in your character that the Lord is still dealing with over the course of the year. You know, so in all of that, I just say trust the process, whatever it looks like. You know, as you build this thing out, you might stop and start. You might have to step away for a little bit, and that's okay. That's okay.
That is so good. Limbrando, as you said, kids come first, so go shape my little one.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
for sure. Yes, yes. So, excuse me. I think that is so encouraging for people. I'm so glad you said that because I don't, I mean, there's multiple reasons why, but we feel like we have to take step 1 through 10,
Yes.
and there can be no deviations,
Yes.
and you can't do anything wrong. So I do love that you shared that, so people can know. Well, if I wipe my Instagram clean, or if I wipe my YouTube or my podcast, like, okay,
Okay.
but are you going to show up tomorrow, or are you going to show up next week? So that's so good.
Absolutely.
Okay. 2 more, actually 1 more. This is the last one, and then we have rapid fire questions, and we're done.
All right.
If someone was interested in starting content, what would, you can do it either way. What would be 3 practical tips you would give them to start, or what is some encouragement you would give them if they're hesitant to actually do it?
Ooh, that's good. Can I do both?
Yeah.
I'll start with the practical tips. Number 1, and again, you know, I preface everything with this because I don't want people to think I'm just saying that things magically happen. Everything that I say is through my faith, based off my faith, you know? So my number 1 might not be somebody else's number 1 that doesn't have a relationship with the Lord and doesn't desire relationship with the Lord. That's fine. That's your own preference. But for me, number 1 is prayer. Like, if you don't hear it from the Lord, you probably shouldn't do it yet, you know? The Lord will reveal. Like, he's not some secret daddy that's just like, ooh, I'm gonna hide this from you. Like, no, but his word says, ask and you will receive, seek and you will find, knock. Sometimes you gotta go knock. Hey, Dad, what's up? Like, Dad, I need to know, is this what you want me to do? You know, my son is 14, and he will, hey, Dad, yo, listen, like, I need you to tell me clearly, like, what do I do here? You know? And we have to be okay with asking the Lord for that clarity, number 1. Number 2, it goes back to the obedience. You got to be in tune, because there's specific instructions when it comes to this thing. You know, we can get very lost in, I want to do content this way. I want to do it this way. I want to do a podcast. I want to do a book. I want to do a show. I want to do it this. And it could be a lot. So if you're not sensitive to the voice of God, you'll be all over the place, you know? So you have to pray. You have to listen to what he actually says, like, which goes back to the obedience. Well, if daddy's telling you that you need to step away for 2 weeks, it's okay. Trust him. You might lose a couple followers, but who knows? When you come back, you might gain 300.
Yeah.
Trust him. And then lastly, find your niche. Like, what's your thing? You know, don't be all over the place. Like, I had to really hone in, like, all right, I want to do Christ content. I want to do daddy content. Well, okay. Well, Larry, then how do you combine those? Faith-based parenting. Faith-based parenting. Do what you do as a father, but also related to your relationship with the Father. Like, once I found that lane, everything became easy, you know? Yes, there is something to putting in work. Faith without works is dead. But when you do things with the Lord on your side, it should be a little smoother, you know? It should come a little bit easier. So those would be my 3 practical tips. What was the other one? Encouragement?
Yeah. If they're just afraid to start, like what would you say to encourage them?
Absolutely. I would say you got this. You do. Like, this really isn't something that we can't do, as just people, let alone as people of God. This is something that we can do. Like, it's literally just you being yourself. But a lot of times we are uncomfortable with ourselves. We won't admit it, you know, because of the guilt, the shame, the condemnation. We know ourselves better than most. We know what we've been through. We know the secret things that don't nobody know but us and God. So a lot of times that can cause you to be like, I don't know. I don't want to talk. I don't want to do this. I don't want to make a video. I don't want to share my testimony, but you got this. You've been graced for this. If the Lord told you to go there, he gonna grace you for it, right? It might be a little challenging. It might feel a little bit weird. It might feel different, but you got to trust that your dad got you. When I tell my kids to go somewhere, they trust me. They know I'm not going to put them in a bad spot, right? We have to have that same mentality with God. If God told you to go do this content, or you scrolling and you like, ooh, he drops it on you, like, that's a real you could do. Because that's typically what happens with me. I'll just be scrolling sometimes. I'll take some time to just go through because, and be intentional about what you like on here. Because, your algorithm will show you other people that are doing what you're doing and put you in front of sounds and stuff that you can use, right? So as you're scrolling and he gives you that thing like, ooh, you can do that. Trust that, We be talking ourselves out of a lot. Like, I can't do it real like him. And I can't do it like her. What? If the Lord dropped it in your spirit that you can do that, you can do that. So you got this.
So good. All right, rapid fire questions. Here we go.
Fire.
What is one book, if you have one, that has helped you with content creation?
Ooh, a quote.
Sorry, one book.
Oh, one book.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be cliche and say the word of God, but that's my book, man. My pastor, my apostle says it often. We are a Bible believing and Bible preaching church, but he says it often. You gotta read this thing. Like, don't be coming in here on Sunday thinking you just gonna hear a little word for an hour that I'm giving you. You gotta be in that book. Like, yes, you can read all the social media content creation books and all the gurus and self-help books, but if you ain't reading that word and you consider yourself a child of God, you're not listening. You're not getting the clear instructions from your Father, right? So that book has changed everything for me. It's changed how I create my content. It's changed how I parent my children. I don't agree when people say like, well, you never been a parent before, you don't know what you're doing. I mean, well, yeah, but I got this instruction manual for my life that literally lays out how I'm supposed to raise my kids, right? And typically, if I follow it, train them up, then, well, I'm probably going to have some all right kids, right? Kids make their own decisions, all of that. I get that. That's probably why we see a lot of what they call them PKs, like pastors' kids wilding out and whatnot, but there's just something to having that instruction manual be your guide in everything you do. So, I wish I had like some self-help book to give the people. Well, I get, but the Bible is a self-help book. So, hey, turn to the word, man. He'll make it plain for you.
Yes. What song are you playing on repeat right now?
Ooh, I joke and tell people that I am a worshiper at heart, but the Lord forgot to give me a voice, which is super funny. Oh, I'm sorry, my son came in. You okay, son? You okay? All right, I'll be out in a second. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm a worshiper, but I just can't sing. Like, I can't sing a lick, but I love music. My stepfather has been a DJ since I was a kid. So I was just always into music, and that, just followed me into my relationship with the Lord. I love music. I'm going to give you two. My worship song right now is More Than Able by Elevation Worship with Chandler Moore. That
Okay.
thing, I mean, it's the first song I listen to in the morning. I listen to it several times in a day. And I love Christian rap. Like I loved rap. Like my dad is a DJ. So I've just always loved rap music. So I listen to a lot of different Christian rappers. The youth pastor at my church actually is a rapper. And me and my kids are into this song called Stripped. His name is Gabriel Day. You can check it out on Spotify and stuff. It's called Strip, man. And that's our jam. Like, we posted a video not too long ago singing it. And so many people were hitting me like, bro, what's that song, bro? That song is dope. Like, look at your daughters. They know all the words. Like, it was pretty cool. So that's my hype up song, Stripped. And then More Than Able is my go-to worship song right now.
Okay. And you said that's one of your reels that you made?
We didn't make it into a reel. We posted it in our story. So a lot of the songs,
Oh,
I get hesitant to really post other people's songs in my reels just for
okay.
like copyright and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So if we're singing a song or something, we'll just throw it in the story. So that's
Okay.
why everybody got to follow us. You got to catch it in that 24 hours.
Okay. For sure. Um, I'm just waving to say hello to someone who just came in. Okay. What is a podcast that has helped you with content creation if you have one?
That's good. It hasn't really been a podcast that's helped me too much, but there are several different Instagram pages that I
Okay.
follow that I mean are just so beneficial. If I'm not mistaken, I believe her Instagram handle is Social Docs, like SOCIALDOX. I love her. Like, oh my God. Her Canvas stuff, game changer. Like, super game changer. So I've been trying to find different content creators that actually are creating content to help content creators, you know? And they've been super helpful. And it's also motivating to me to not always try to have a product to sell, because a lot of the stuff that they do is just free game. Like, thank you. Now they do have stuff that, master classes and all that type of stuff. But the free game that they give out is super juicy and helpful, man. So even if you don't have time to listen to all these podcasts, because there's a billion out there now, just make, again, the algorithms. Who are you following? Who are you looking at? Are you blindly just scrolling through this thing where you can get caught for 2 hours and you're like, dang, what did I get out of that? Or are you scrolling and you're like, ooh, that's a reel I can do. Ooh, this person that I follow just posted how to use these different blocks inside of Canva. Let me try them out. So, yeah, man, shout out to her for real.
Yes. When was the last time you burned something? Food, clothing, hair, doesn't matter.
um, this morning, actually, which is so funny. We the digital ministry that I'm a part of is national. So it's brothers from around the country, black, white, young, old, just men of God, men that really love God. And we do a prayer call twice a day, morning and night, every single day. 365, we don't miss a day, holidays, we there, you know. And the local members here in Columbus got together this morning. Our pastor flew in. He lives in Florida. He flew in, and I was actually making with. We have a chef in the ministry. He came over to my crib. He lives in Cleveland. It's about 2 hours away. He came down to the crib, and we were making the breakfast this morning, and I burned the bacon. Burned the first batch of the bacon, man. So that's the last thing I burned. Super recent this morning.
Oh, goodness. Oh, we got the rest of it came out good.
Oh man, the rest came out great. I had to find that hot spot in the oven, and then adjust, and yeah.
You actually already answered this one. So I won't ask that one. If you have one, what is one platform or application that helps you to create content? So like Canva, a social media management type thing, or something where you get free music or something like that.
Absolutely. So shout out to the lady Social Docs again. She is a huge asset. But I use Canva a lot. Canva is really my thing. But I also just shout out to Instagram. Like just using the app itself makes it fairly easy. You know, I'm not doing nothing special yet. I don't have the time, you know. I got all these babies that I'm trying to take care of and they come first, you know. Also, as you mentioned when you were reading my bio, I'm a fatherhood practitioner here in the city. So I do fatherhood work. So I'm out in the city, you know, meeting with these guys, like trying to help these guys that are in crisis a lot of times. So I don't have time to just sit on and play around with different apps and all of that, you know? So Instagram is good in of itself in creating these reels. And they actually just did an update recently and it's even better, you know? So I'm just grateful that the platform where I posted has enough features where I can just stick right here for the most part.
Yes, that's good. And then last question. I don't know if your answer might be different, but what is one talent that you do not have, but you wish you did? So I'm like, I don't know, you might say what you already said.
Man, I'm telling you, I wish I could sing. I'm telling you. But I'm grateful that the Bible says make a joyful noise. It doesn't say make a harmonious noise or a melodious noise. It just says be joyful when you do it. And I get a lot of joy out of worship. But I don't have it yet. I want to learn a couple of different instruments. I would love how to play the keys and I would love how to play a guitar. You know, shout again, and I mention him a lot because I just shout out to my apostle. He plays, you know, not often. I've only heard him a couple times, but there's just something to that acoustic guitar when you're praying, just getting a song out, especially if you're just by yourself. You know, I want to get to that place where I don't have to turn on. Shout out to Elevation Worship and More Than Able, but I want to get to a space where it's literally just me and God. You know, but because I love music, I want the sounds. I don't want to have to turn on a instrumental. I don't want to have to go searching for it on YouTube, 3-hour prophetic worship set. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm grateful for them, but there's something to like actually taking that guitar, playing it yourself and letting just whatever the Lord puts in your hands come out, you know? And to me, it unlocks a different level of prayer too, you know? Praying while you have that and you can put a melody to the scripture or a melody to your prayer, it just hits different, man. So instrument playing is a talent I don't have, but I'm looking to acquire and learn.
Okay, that's it. You are done.
Wow, this is amazing. I appreciate it a lot, you know. Just thank you for what you're doing, you know, having this space where parents can come, you know, because I think a lot of times we forget that parenting is our number one ministry. You can do all this stuff in the church, you know, you can speak in tongues, shout, do your laps, but why is your kid acting up? You know, you could be a pastor standing up there in the pulpit, but why your kid's disrespectful? You're neglecting your first ministry. So thank you for providing a space. You know, anybody that provides a space for parents to grow, I'm grateful for it, especially if it's rooted in Christ. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for giving me a chance to share. You know, as you can tell, I love to talk about the Lord and I love to talk about my babies. It's two things I could do all day, you know, so thank you for allowing me the space to share.
Absolutely. I'm just glad you said yes. Because you have way more people than me, and I'm like, I don't want him to think I'm trying to get in front of his audience or anything like that. Like, I have no links for anything. I just really enjoy letting people know, like, you can create a new story for your family, or if you have influence over kids and they're not yours, but you see God is opening an opportunity for you.
Absolutely.
You use it. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
On that note, you know, shout out to my friend Jazz who popped in. You know, I honor teachers. My goodness, like people that teach, especially if you got your own kids and you teach, are special. You know, they are literally gifts from God because we have to have teachers, right? Like we have to. Kids have to go to school, so we have to have them. And the people that step into that role are absolutely amazing. I volunteered at field day at my kids' school yesterday, and you know, it hit me like they're dealing with a lot of children that don't have the best things going on at home, and then they come take it out on the teachers. And now you got
Yes.
this kid that you can't even really discipline like that. You know, it's different when it's your kids. You can discipline them how you choose to discipline them. You know, I know everybody has their own thing, gentle parenting, don't spank, don't whatever you choose to do. You have a lot of autonomy in choosing how you discipline your own child. Teachers don't have that. They just got to have the patience and put up with it a lot of times, you know. And there are a lot of children out here that I don't like to call kids bad, but they just have not been led into the right direction, you know, because children are just sponges. Really, anything that you see these kids doing, you really can look at them like, dang, what are your parents doing, you know? Because they learned it from somewhere. Either you're showing them something or you're not being present enough and they're getting it from somewhere else, right? So I just want to honor teachers. I want to honor people like you that create these spaces. Anything that we can do to help these babies, you know, that's our number two goal. Get others to Christ and then make sure we're taking care of our kids. They're the next generation. And I'd be danged if my kids is going to be teenagers or adults walking around disrespectful, walking around unsuccessful, and people wondering like, dang, what did your dad do? Absolutely not. I am trying to make sure that you have every advantage in the world. And what's the number one advantage? I'm going to give you Christ. My kids got that, then they going to be all right. They're going to be straight.
That's good. That is so good. A way to wrap up because I was reading a book and that's one of the things that she was talking about. Like it doesn't matter all the other things that you try to give your kids. And she's not saying don't do it, but she was just like, it doesn't matter if you have an all-star athlete and you get them into a college and college is paid for and the pressure's off of you as a parent. But when they go in, they lose everything because
Yes.
they were not raised in the fear of the Lord in a healthy way, reverential fear, to
Yes.
know how to balance what their gifting has allowed them to walk into. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. We see it happening right now. I'm an NBA fan. So I'm sure a lot of NBA fans will know what's going on. There's a basketball player by the name of John Morant, superstar, one
Yeah.
of the best players in the league right now. But the cat keeps popping up on Instagram with weapons. Like, dog, like what are you doing? You know? And to me, because he is a young man, where are your parents? I don't care how much money you got. If your parents were present while you were growing up, ain't no amount of money gonna make you not listen to them. My kids, hopefully and prayerfully, if we continue on the trajectory that we're on, no matter what you do, successful doctor, lawyer, MBA, you could be the richest person in the world, but you for dang sure gonna respect me and your mama. I know that, you know. So that's a prime example of it. No matter what, they could be successful in the world, but if they ain't got that fear of God, and if you haven't showed them to respect you as a parent and honor you by not doing this goofy stuff, it could be taken in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yes. For
Mm-hmm.
sure. Excuse me. So thank you all so much for joining. Again, go follow DAPS with Dads. I'm gonna post him his ad in the description, and I'll put it in my stories so you can follow him. Go like some stuff, put some comments,
Yes.
help him with the algorithm, excuse me, and all of that stuff. And we so appreciate you being here again. And that's it. We'll see you guys on the next interview.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yes, you too. Thank you.